Hi, Clinton here from CrossFit Hamilton, and welcome to the third episode of Nutrition Knowledge Bombs. Alright, so if you missed the first couple of episodes, go back, watch them, because before we dig into episode 3, it's important that you have the first habit dialed in, which is episode 1, then the second habit dialed in, which is episode 2. Alright, so now, what we're dealing with, this habit here is making sure that you get a lean source of protein in with each and every meal. Now, without going into the details of it too much, it's absolutely critical for almost every metabolic process. And so when it comes to maintaining and preserving our lean mass, such as bone and muscle, we need to make sure that we're getting adequate levels of protein. When it comes to feeling full, the satiety levels, again, having a good level of protein in at each meal will help you feel fuller for longer. Now, it's an easy habit that most people can do. It's quite a doable habit and it's easy to understand. But in saying that, up to today, we haven't really spent too much time looking at the actual nutrition sides of things. We've been spending a lot of time more around habits. So this is our first one, our first strategy where we're dealing into the nutrition. And it's about adding food in. At this stage, we're not wanting you to cut any food out. We're not interested in getting you to cut anything. It's just about adding stuff into the diet. All right, so here are your sources, good sources of protein. And so we've got beans, eggs, poultry. You've got your red meats, fish and seafood, red lentils, a different variety of yogurts, pork and whey protein. So get a little bit familiar with where your sources of protein are, your good lean sources, and listen, you'll have a bit of a preference and a bias for some of those. And I guess the nature of it is, at this stage, it doesn't really matter to us what you're having, just as long as you're getting in the habit of adding in a lean protein to as many of your meals as possible. All right, now in saying that, a big part of this game plan means that to add protein in, you have to have it readily available. And so if you're not in the habit of doing regular shops, we say as a minimum, shop once a week and do a trolley check before every time you go to check out. Make sure that you've got some sources of protein in there that are sitting in the trolley ready to be used for the week. The other thing is, you can look at another good element of the game plan is to look at adding protein to existing food choices. So the less you have to change the other types of foods that you're eating and the more you can integrate this in, ideally the better that's going to play out. Now, so if we look at protein serving sizes, so again we're talking from people that are typically wanting to lose a sustainable amount of weight. We say portion sizes for women is pretty much just your palm. So look at the thickness, look at the circumference, and that's the amount of protein that you want to be having at each and every meal. Now guys, you're talking 1 to 2 palms. Right, so understand that we can adjust the serving size a little bit more to your specific needs. And so someone who is potentially like a young female athlete, they're going to need more protein than potentially an older inactive person. And so you do want to adjust it, but as a guide, use the portion size of your hand, your palm, being the guide for you in terms of how much protein you need at each meal. Now, when starting at looking at adding lean protein to each meal, you need to work out where on this continuum you are. So someone who doesn't have much protein at all versus someone that has a lot. These are the different levels that you can work to. So the starting level is just becoming familiar with your protein options and what your eating habits are around the protein. So what meals do you find it easy to get your protein in versus what meals do you find it hard? The second level is to try and add a little more protein to each meal using foods that you enjoy. So add protein into just one meal a day around the foods that you enjoy. The third level is doing exactly the same, so adding a little bit more protein to one meal, to a number of meals, but again, using the protein sources that you like. So, and level 4 is, well, listen, let's try and add protein to each meal, but focus on a wide range of protein sources rather than just having, I'm a chicken eater and chicken is what I eat, all right? So level 1, like I say, just to recap, become familiar with your protein options and your eating habits of protein. Level 2 is try and add a little bit more protein to one meal using foods that you enjoy. Level 3 is trying to add it to each meal, again, using protein and food choices that you prefer. And level 4 is, a lot of meals, but getting a bit of variety to it. All right, so guys, get this one down pat, but like I say, if you haven't already done the other 2 habits yet, get back to those. And then, from here, just add the protein to each meal and, we'll see how we go.